The clipboard trembled in Officer James Mitchell's hands as he stood outside. The mahogany doors of the Royal Household's planning office. Inside, voices rose and fell like waves crashing against rocks. He had been a royal guard for 12 years. Had stood beside 3 generations of royals. But he had never heard anything like this. It was March 2026. Rain hammered against the palace windows. James had been summoned to deliver updated security protocols for Trooping the Color, a grand military parade celebrating the king's official birthday. A ceremony watched by millions. A tradition older than time itself. But something was different this year. Very different. The door opened. Lady Victoria Ashworth, senior aide to the king, stepped out. Her face was pale, lips pressed tight. She looked at James but didn't really see him. Behind her, he caught a glimpse of the conference room. Maps spread across the table, photographs of balconies, seating charts marked in red ink, and one name crossed out entirely. Queen Camilla, Officer Mitchell, Lady Victoria said quietly. What you're about to hear stays within these walls. Do you understand? James nodded. His mouth went dry. She led him inside. Around the table sat 5 people. Military officials, palace advisors. All wore the same grim expression. General Hartley, head of ceremonial affairs, gestured to an empty chair. Sit down, James. He sat. The room smelled of coffee and tension. We have a situation, General Hartley began. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed something else. Concern, maybe even fear. The plans for Trooping the Color have been revised, significantly. A document slid across the polished wood toward James. He picked it up. His eyes scanned the page. Balcony positions. Royal family placement. Then he saw it again. The Queen Consort's name struck through with a single black line. She's been removed? James whispered. The room went silent. Rain continued its assault outside. Somewhere in the palace, a clock chimed 4 times. Not removed, Lady Victoria corrected carefully. Repositioned. But James had seen enough palace politics to know the truth. This wasn't repositioning. This was erasure. Before you hear what happens next, if you love real stories from inside the royal family that no one else tells, hit that subscribe button. You won't believe where this goes. General Hartley leaned forward. 3 weeks ago, the Prince and Princess of Wales requested a meeting with His Majesty. Private. No aides. No advisors. Just the 3 of them. What did they discuss? James asked. The future, the general replied. Specifically, what kind of monarchy their children would inherit, and who would be standing beside them when that day came. James felt his pulse quicken. The Wales family. Prince William, Princess Catherine, and their 3 children. The future of the crown. They had always been popular, beloved even. But to make a move like this? The meeting lasted for hours, Lady Victoria added. When it ended, everything changed. His Majesty called us in the next morning. He had one instruction. Trooping the Color would be different this year. It would show the nation what the monarchy looks like moving forward. And the Queen Consort? James asked. Lady Victoria's expression hardened. Was not part of that vision. Thunder rolled across London. James looked down at the crossed-out name again. 12 years of service, and he had never seen anything like this. The military, the household staff, the very institution itself was choosing sides, and they had chosen the Wales family. But why? What had happened in that 4-hour meeting? What had William and Catherine said that changed everything? James was about to find out. And the truth was far more shocking than he could have imagined. General Hartley stood and walked to the window. His reflection stared back at him through the rain-streaked glass. Decades of military service, a lifetime of loyalty to the crown, and now this. A decision that would reshape everything. You need to understand something, James, he said without turning around. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. If word of this meeting leaks, careers end. Possibly more than careers. James straightened in his chair. I understand, sir. The general turned. His eyes were steel. The Prince and Princess of Wales came to his. Majesty with evidence, documents, recordings, things that had been happening behind closed doors for months. Lady Victoria opened a folder. Inside were photographs. James could see them from across the table. Images of Camilla at various royal events. But something was off in each one. Her positioning, her interactions, or rather the lack of them. For the past year, Lady Victoria explained, there has been growing tension within the family. Public smiles, private warfare. The Queen Consort has been making certain decisions about the children. James felt ice in his veins. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis. All three, she confirmed. Attempts to control their schedules, their education, their public appearances. She wanted more influence over the future heirs. The general returned to his seat. Princess Catherine discovered it first. Small things initially. A changed appointment here. A cancelled engagement there. But when she started documenting everything, a pattern emerged. He pulled out another document. This one was covered in handwritten notes. Catherine's handwriting, James realized. Neat, precise, angry. She brought it to William, the general continued. At first, he didn't believe it. His father had just become king. The last thing he wanted was family conflict. But Catherine kept pushing. She's protective of those children. Fiercely protective, Lady Victoria nodded. So they investigated quietly. William has connections throughout the palace staff. People loyal to him, not to the institution. People who saw what was happening and didn't like it. James remembered something from months ago. A conversation he had overheard between two housekeepers. Something about the Queen Consort making unusual requests. He had dismissed it at the time as gossip. What kind of influence was she trying to gain? He asked. The room grew colder. Lady Victoria glanced at the general. He gave a small nod. Control, she said simply. When King Charles is gone, William becomes king. But George, Charlotte, and Louis represent the next generation. Whoever shapes them, shapes the future. The Queen Consort wanted to be that person. She wanted to be remembered not as Charles's wife, but as the woman who guided the future monarchs. James felt his stomach turn. But their children. George is barely a teenager. Exactly, the general said, which is why William and Catherine acted. They gathered every piece of evidence, every overstepped boundary, every manipulated schedule, and they brought it all to His Majesty. How did the king react? Lady Victoria's expression softened slightly. He's a father first, a king second. When he saw what was happening to his grandchildren, when he realized the woman he loved was trying to control the very future of his family, she paused. He made a choice. Outside, the storm intensified. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room in stark white light. James saw it clearly now. This wasn't about tradition or ceremony or public relations. This was about family. About protecting children. About a father and mother willing to stand against a queen to save their kids. The 4-hour meeting, James said slowly. What happened in there? General Hartley's face was grim. His Majesty asked William and Catherine one question. What do you need from me? William's answer was clear. Remove her influence. Publicly show the world where the crown's loyalty lies. Show them that the Wales family comes first, untrooping the color. Is the message? Lady Victoria finished. Millions watching. The world's cameras focused on that balcony, and when the Queen Consort doesn't appear beside His Majesty, when she's positioned separately, away from the line of succession, everyone will understand. The monarchy has made its choice. James looked at the crossed-out name again. The answer came sooner than anyone expected. 2 days after James learned the truth, he was assigned to the East Wing. Routine patrol. Standard procedure. But nothing about that morning felt standard. He turned a corner and stopped. Voices echoed down the corridor, sharp, angry, coming from the king's private study. The door was closed but not fully latched. Sound escaped through the narrow gap. James should have kept walking. Protocol demanded it. But something in those voices froze him in place. You promised me, Camilla's voice, cut through the air like broken glass. When I married you, when I took on this role, you promised me respect. You promised me a place in this family. You have it, King Charles replied. His voice was tired, strained. But not at the expense of my grandchildren. Your grandchildren? They're being used against me, Charles. Can't you see that? William has poisoned you against your own wife. James pressed himself against the wall. His heart hammered. He shouldn't be hearing this. But he couldn't move. William showed me evidence, the king said quietly. Documents with your signature. Emails from your office. You tried to control their education. You wanted veto power over Catherine's parenting decisions. My God, Camilla, you tried to have Princess Charlotte's piano teacher replaced because you didn't approve of her. Silence. Heavy and suffocating. I was trying to help, Camilla finally said. Her voice had changed. Softer now. Defensive. Those children need structure. Catherine is too protective. She keeps them in a bubble. I was trying to prepare them for what's coming. They're children. The king's voice rose. James had never heard him shout before. George is 13. Charlotte is 10. Louis is 8. They don't need preparation. They need to be children. They need their parents. Not you. Something shattered. Glass. A teacup, perhaps. James flinched. This is about her, isn't it? Camilla's voice turned cold. St. Catherine. Perfect Catherine. The people's princess. She's turned to you against me, just like she turned William. Catherine is protecting her family, Charles said firmly. Something I should have done from the beginning. I was blind. I wanted everyone to get along. I wanted you to be accepted, but not like this. Never like this. Footsteps approached the door. James turned and walked quickly down the corridor, his boots silent on the carpet. He reached the corner just as the study door opened. He glanced back. Camilla stood in the doorway. Her face was red, makeup smudged around her eyes. She looked down the empty corridor, composing herself. Then she walked in the opposite direction, her heels clicking against the floor like gunshots. James exhaled. His hands were shaking that evening. An emergency meeting was called. The same room, the same people, but the atmosphere had shifted. Something had broken loose. The secret was no longer contained. She knows, Lady Victoria announced without preamble. The Queen Consort knows about the trooping plans. She confronted His Majesty this morning. How did she find out? General Hartley demanded. Does it matter? Lady Victoria snapped. She knows. And she's not accepting it quietly. Her office is making calls. To press contacts. 2 sympathetic peers. She's preparing a counter-offensive. James spoke up. I saw her. This morning, after she met with His Majesty, she was. He searched for the right word. Devastated. Devastated people are dangerous, the general muttered, especially when they have resources and connections. Lady Victoria pulled out her phone. We've intercepted communications from her private secretary. They're drafting a statement. Something about feeling sidelined, about being erased by jealous relatives. She wants to paint herself as the victim. The public will eat it up, someone said. The wicked stepmother narrative. Catherine the villain. It'll be Diana all over again. The general slammed his fist on the table. Then we move faster. We release the official trooping plans tomorrow. We control the narrative before she does. That gives us less than 3 weeks to prepare, Lady Victoria protested. Then we work fast, the general replied. His Majesty has made his decision. The military supports the Wales family. The household staff supports the Wales family. The institution supports the Wales family. Camilla is alone in this. She just doesn't realize it yet. James looked around the room. These weren't just palace officials anymore. These were soldiers preparing for battle. A quiet war fought in conference rooms and press releases. A war where the weapons were loyalty and public opinion. And in the middle of it all were 3 children who just wanted to be normal. 3 kids whose lives were being fought over by adults with crowns and agendas. That night, James couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what he'd heard outside the king's study. The pain in Camilla's voice, the exhaustion in Charles's, the impossible situation they were all trapped in. But he also thought about Princess Catherine, a mother protecting her children, and Prince William, a father drawing a line in the sand. The storm was coming, and when it hit, nothing would ever be the same. The official announcement came at 9 in the morning. James was standing post outside the main gate when his radio crackled to life. All units, be advised. Trooping the colored details have been released to the press. Expect increased media presence. Remain vigilant. Within an hour, the news vans arrived. Dozens of them. Satellite dishes rose into the London sky like metal flowers. Reporters positioned themselves outside the palace gates, cameras ready. Microphones hot. James watched them through his peripheral vision, standing perfectly still in his red uniform. He knew what they had seen. The official plans, the balcony arrangements, and the notable absence. Queen Camilla would not stand beside King Charles during the ceremony. She would be positioned separately, away from the direct line of succession, away from William, Catherine, and the children. The visual message was clear. The future of the monarchy didn't include her at its center. His radio crackled again. Mitchell, report to command immediately. James handed his post to another guard and moved quickly through the palace corridors. When he entered the command room, he found chaos. Phones ringing. Voices overlapping. General Hartley stood at the center of it all, barking orders.
Ouch.
Mitchell, he called out. You're being reassigned. Personal security for the Wales family during trooping. You'll be responsible for the children's safety on the balcony. James blinked. Sir, that's usually reserved for senior detail. Senior detail is being spread thin, the general replied. We have to prepare for every contingency, including protests, including security threats, including someone within the family causing a scene. The implication hung in the air. Camilla might do something unpredictable. Understood, sir, James said. Lady Victoria appeared at his elbow. Walk with me. They moved into a quieter hallway. She handed him a thick folder. Background briefing on the Wales family, protocols, emergency procedures. Study it. Memorize it. Those children's safety is now your primary responsibility. James took the folder. Has there been a specific threat? Lady Victoria hesitated. Not a threat. But intelligence suggests the Queen Consort's team is planning something. We don't know what. A statement. A public appearance. Maybe something during the ceremony itself. We need people we trust around the Wales family. You think she would disrupt trooping the color? I think a woman who feels betrayed is capable of anything, Lady Victoria said quietly. And Camilla feels very betrayed right now. That afternoon, James was introduced to his assignment. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. They were in one of the palace's private rooms, being fitted for their ceremonial outfits. Princess Catherine was with them, adjusting Charlotte's collar while Louis fidgeted with his buttons. Children, this is Officer Mitchell, Catherine said warmly. He'll be with us during trooping the color. George, tall and serious for his age, shook James's hand firmly. Nice to meet you, sir. Charlotte smiled shyly. Louis just stared at James's uniform with wide eyes. Are those real? Louis asked, pointing at the medals on James's chest.
Louis,
Catherine said gently. It's all right, ma'am, James replied. He knelt down to Louis's level. Yes, they're real. Each one represents a different assignment. This one is from my first year as a royal guard. Louis whispered. Catherine caught James's eye. In that moment, he saw it. The weight she was carrying. The fear beneath the smile. She was terrified. Not for herself, but for them. For these 3 beautiful, innocent children caught in a war they didn't understand. Officer Mitchell, she said softly, may I speak with you privately? They stepped into an adjoining room. Catherine closed the door. When she turned to face him, the mask was gone. She looked exhausted. I need to know they're safe, she said. Not just from outside threats. From everything. From cameras. From gossip. From family members who might say or do something hurtful. Can you promise me that? James had been a guard for 12 years. He had protected dignitaries, politicians, even other royals. But he had never seen a mother's fear this raw. "I promise, ma'am," he said, "nothing will happen to them. Not on my watch." Catherine's eyes welled with tears. She blinked them away quickly. "Thank you. You have no idea what this situation has cost us. What it's cost them." "I have some idea, ma'am," James said carefully. She studied his face. "You know, about the meeting, about why this is happening?" "Yes, ma'am." Catherine walked to the window. Below, the press vans were still gathered like vultures. People think we're being cruel, that we're pushing Camilla out for no reason. But they don't know. They didn't see what she tried to do. How she tried to control every aspect of their lives. "You were protecting them," James said. "I was being their mother," Catherine replied. "That's all. Just their mother. And when someone threatened that, when someone tried to take decisions away from me and William, I couldn't stay silent. I wouldn't." She turned back to him. "Trooping the color isn't just a ceremony anymore. It's a statement. It's us telling the world that these children belong to their parents first. Not to the institution. Not to Camilla. To us," James nodded. "The military understands, ma'am. We stand with you." "I hope so," Catherine whispered. "Because in 3 weeks, everything becomes public, and I'm terrified of what happens next." She didn't know how right she was, because that evening, Camilla made her move. A private interview with a trusted journalist, scheduled for the day before trooping the color. A final attempt to control the narrative, to paint herself as the victim, to turn the public against the Wales family. The war was no longer quiet, and the battle for the future of the crown was about to become very, very loud. The interview aired at 8 in the evening, one day before trooping the color. James was off duty, watching from his small apartment in London. The moment Camilla appeared on screen, he knew this was going to be devastating. She sat in an elegant chair, perfectly composed, wearing a simple blue dress. Her makeup was flawless. Her expression was wounded but dignified. The journalist, a veteran known for sympathetic interviews, leaned forward with concern. "Your Majesty, thank you for speaking with us during what must be a difficult time," Camilla smiled sadly. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Sometimes the truth needs to be spoken, even when it's painful." James's phone began buzzing. Messages from the command center, from other guards. Everyone was watching. Everyone understood what was happening. "There have been reports," the journalist continued, "about changes to the upcoming Trooping the Color ceremony. Specifically, about your role in the proceedings. Can you tell us what's happening?" Camilla took a breath. Perfect timing. Perfect delivery. "I've been sidelined," she said simply. "After years of service to this country, after standing beside my husband through everything, I've been pushed aside. Not by him, but by others who want to control the narrative of this family." "Others?" the journalist prompted. "I won't name names," Camilla said, though her meaning was crystal clear. "But there are people who have never accepted me, who see me as a threat, and now they're using innocent children as pawns in their game." James felt his stomach drop. She was talking about the children. About George, Charlotte, and Louis. "These are serious allegations," the journalist said carefully. "They're the truth," Camilla replied. Her eyes were glassy with unshed tears. "I love those children. I've only ever wanted what's best for them. But their mother sees me as competition, as someone trying to steal her spotlight, and she's convinced her husband to exclude me from family events, to erase me from the monarchy's future." The interview continued for 20 excruciating minutes. Camilla painted herself as a devoted stepmother, rejected by a jealous daughter-in-law. She spoke of canceled invitations, of being excluded from family gatherings, of watching the children grow up from a distance while Catherine controlled every aspect of their lives. She never mentioned the documents, the attempts to control their schedules, the overstepped boundaries. She told her version of events. And to anyone who didn't know the truth, it was convincing. When the interview ended, James's phone exploded. Texts from the command center. Emergency meeting, immediately. All senior personnel. He arrived at the palace to find pandemonium. The media had erupted. Social media was divided. Some supported Camilla. Others defended Catherine. The hashtags were trending worldwide. The story had gone from internal family matter to international crisis in less than an hour. General Hartley looked like he'd aged 10 years. This is a disaster. We're 24 hours from trooping, and now the entire world is watching to see what happens. We stick to the plan, Lady Victoria said firmly. His Majesty's decision stands. The balcony arrangement doesn't change. But the optics, someone protested. After that interview, if we proceed as planned, it looks like we're confirming everything she said. That we're cruel. That we're pushing her out. We're not pushing her out, the general snapped. We're protecting children. There's a difference. Try explaining that to the press, another voice muttered. James cleared his throat. Everyone turned to him. Permission to speak, sir? The general nodded. I've been with the Wales family, James said. I've seen them with the children. There's nothing cruel about what they're doing. They're being parents. Princess Catherine is one of the most devoted mothers I've ever seen. This isn't about jealousy or control. It's about protection. Maybe it's time the public knew that. Lady Victoria studied him. Are you suggesting we release evidence? The documents? The communications? I'm suggesting we tell the truth, James replied. Before Camilla's version becomes the only one people remember? The room erupted in debate. Some agreed. Others worried about escalation, about hurting the king, about destroying what was left of family unity. Finally, General Hartley raised his hand for silence. We can't release the documents. That's His Majesty's decision to make. But we can make a statement, short, direct. We can say that the balcony arrangements reflect the direct line of succession. That it's about the future of the monarchy, not personal grievances. We let the visuals speak for themselves tomorrow. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. That night, James couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Charlotte's shy smile, Louis's wide eyes, George's firm handshake. 3 children who just wanted to be normal, who didn't ask for any of this. And he thought about Catherine, standing at that window, terrified of what was coming. A mother protecting her children against impossible odds. The next morning, James arrived at the palace at dawn. The ceremony was hours away. Security was tighter than he'd ever seen. Metal detectors at every entrance. Snipers on rooftops. Police barricades holding back massive crowds. The world was watching. Millions of people. All waiting to see what would happen. Waiting to see if the Queen Consort would appear. Waiting to see if the Wales family would really go through with this. James took his position near the balcony entrance. His job was clear. Protect the children. No matter what, at exactly 10 o'clock, the royal family began to assemble. King Charles, solemn and dignified. Prince William and Princess Catherine, holding hands tightly. George, Charlotte, and Louis, dressed impeccably, nervous but brave. And then Camilla appeared. She was positioned separately, exactly as planned, away from the direct line of succession. Her face was composed, but James could see it. The anger beneath the surface, the humiliation, the rage. For a moment, their eyes met, hers and his. And in that moment, James understood this wasn't over. The interview was just the beginning. Camilla wasn't accepting defeat. She was planning something else. But what? And when the ceremony was about to start, millions were watching. Whatever happened next would change everything. James's radio crackled. All units, stand by. The royal family is moving to the balcony. Remain alert. This was it. The moment the military chose the Wales family, the moment the future of the crown was decided, and James stood ready, protecting 3 children who would one day change the world. If they survived today. The balcony doors opened. Sunlight flooded in, along with the roar of the crowd. Thousands of people packed the mall, their cheers echoing off the palace walls. Cameras flashed like lightning. The world held its breath. King Charles stepped out first, waving to the crowd. The cheers intensified. Then came William and Catherine, with George between them. Charlotte and Louis followed close behind, with James just steps away, his eyes scanning everything. Every face in the crowd, every window, every shadow. And then Camilla stepped out, positioned several feet away from the main group. The cameras caught it immediately. The separation, the distance, the visual statement that couldn't be ignored. For a moment, everything froze. The crowd's cheering faltered as people processed what they were seeing. This was real. The rumors were true. The queen consort had been moved aside. James watched Camilla's face. She smiled and waved, but her jaw was tight. Her eyes were cold. She was trapped in front of millions of people, forced to play her part in her own diminishment. Then something unexpected happened. Princess Charlotte, only 10 years old, glanced over at Camilla. The little girl's face showed confusion. She looked up at her mother, then at her grandfather, then back at Camilla standing alone. And in that moment of childlike empathy, Charlotte did something no one had anticipated. She walked over to Camilla and took her hand. The crowd gasped. Camera zoomed in. James stepped forward instinctively, but Catherine raised her hand slightly, stopping him. She was watching her daughter with tears in her eyes. Charlotte said something to Camilla, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Camilla looked down at the child, and for the first time that day, her composure cracked. Real tears appeared. She squeezed Charlotte's hand gently. But then Charlotte did something even more remarkable. She tugged Camilla's hand, trying to lead her over to where the family stood, trying to include her. Trying to fix what the adults had broken, William bent down and whispered something to his daughter. Charlotte's face fell. She understood. This wasn't something she could fix. Not today. Not with the whole world watching. She kissed Camilla's hand once. A gesture of pure childhood kindness, then returned to her mother's side. Catherine wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. The crowd erupted. Some were crying. Others were cheering. The moment had been captured by every camera present. A child's compassion in the middle of an adult war. James felt his throat tighten. This was what it was all about. Not politics. Not positioning. Not public relations. It was about human beings. About a little girl who saw someone alone and wanted to help. About a mother who had to teach her daughter that some wounds couldn't be healed with kindness. The ceremony continued. The military procession passed below. The Royal Air Force flew overhead. Everything proceeded exactly as planned. But that moment with Charlotte had changed everything. After the balcony appearance, James escorted the Wales family back inside. Catherine immediately knelt down to Charlotte's level. "That was very kind, sweetheart," she said softly. "Very kind and very brave." "Why is she standing alone, Mummy?" Charlotte asked, her voice small. She looked so sad. William knelt down too. Sometimes adults make difficult decisions. Decisions that hurt people. But those decisions are necessary to protect the people we love most. "Like us?" George asked quietly. He understood more than his younger siblings.
"Yes,"
William said. "Like you." Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "But I don't want anyone to be sad because of us." Catherine pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "Oh, my darling. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. You have the biggest, kindest heart. Never lose that. But you also need to understand that protecting you sometimes means making hard choices." James turned away, giving them privacy. But he heard Charlotte's next words clearly. "When I'm grown up, I'm going to make sure no one has to stand alone. I'm going to make sure everyone feels included." It was the voice of a future princess, maybe even a future queen. A child who had just learned the hardest lesson of royal life. Sometimes kindness isn't enough. Later that evening, after the crowds had dispersed and the press had left, James was summoned to a final meeting. The same room, the same people, but the atmosphere had completely changed. "The public response has been overwhelming," Lady Victoria reported. "Charlotte's gesture is being called the moment of the decade. The image of her taking Camilla's hand is everywhere. It's being interpreted as a bridge between the old and new, as hope for healing. And Camilla? General Hartley asked. Has issued a statement thanking Princess Charlotte for her kindness. She's calling her a special child with a beautiful heart. The interview controversy has been overshadowed by Charlotte's moment. James felt relief wash over him. Maybe this would end peacefully after all. But Lady Victoria wasn't finished. However, there's been a development. The king has requested a private family meeting. All of them, including the queen consort. Tomorrow morning, the room went silent. What do you think he's planning? Someone asked. Reconciliation, perhaps, Lady Victoria said. Or boundaries. Clear, non-negotiable boundaries. Charlotte's gesture reminded everyone that this is a family. Broken, complicated, but still a family. General Hartley nodded slowly. Whatever happens in that meeting, our position remains the same. The Wales family is the future. We protect them. We support them. That hasn't changed. No, Lady Victoria agreed. But maybe, just maybe, we've found a way forward that doesn't destroy everyone in the process. James left the palace that night as the sun was setting. London was quiet again. Normal life returning after the spectacle. But nothing was normal anymore. The monarchy had been fundamentally changed. The future had been decided. He thought about Charlotte taking Camilla's hand. About Catherine's tears. About William's strength. About 3 children who carried the weight of a nation on their small shoulders. The royal guard had witnessed it all. The deletion of a queen consort from official plans. The choice the military made. The day everything changed. But he had also witnessed something more important. He had seen humanity in the midst of politics. Compassion in the midst of conflict. Hope in the midst of heartbreak. The crown would survive. It always did. And maybe, just maybe, it would be better for what had happened here because the Wales family had stood their ground. They had protected their children. They had shown the world what truly mattered, and a 10-year-old princess had reminded everyone that even in the darkest moments, kindness still matters. That even when adults make impossible choices, children can find grace. James looked back at the palace one last time. Lights glowed in the windows. Inside, a family was trying to heal, trying to move forward, trying to build a future worthy of the children who would inherit it. He had been a royal guard for 12 years. But this day, this moment, this story, he would carry with him forever. The day the military chose the Wales family, the day a queen consort was deleted from the plans, the day a little girl's kindness changed everything, and the day James Mitchell understood what he was really protecting. Not crowns or thrones or ceremonies, but family, love, hope, the future of everything that mattered.